what does it mean to process these people? So if I walk in, straight off a boat, walk into a migrant processing centre, being taken there by whoever, what kind of questions are they asking me? Can I be processed along with, let's say, 800 others in the space of 24 hours for them to be secure in the knowledge that I'm not a massive threat?
No, basically it can't. It's you've got to be a very basic interview, name, date of birth, even though they're not going to tell you their real name or their real date of. You've got to fingerprint them, you've got to photograph them, you've got to try and ascertain their medical condition, and that's important now because we've got this diphtheria outbreak. And if you're going to have upwards of 1,000 people arriving, to do that in 24 hours is almost impossible.
Right. And realistically, what it means, correct me if I'm wrong here, I am asking your expert insight into this, is when it says they're processed and then moved on in 24 hours, that means within 24 hours of arriving, setting foot on British soil, they are processed, quite possibly, in your view, having given a false name and age and goodness knows what else, maybe a very, very basic / shoddy health check, and then sent out of a processing centre and into a hotel in communities around the country.
Yeah, that's about right.
Right.
That's it.
A concern, is it not?
Oh, blimey, it's a huge concern. But we're really... the problem is we've got too many people arriving too quickly and overwhelming the resources that we've got to deal with it. And it's that simple, Patrick.
So processing someone as opposed to in 24 hours, but now legally being allowed to take 4 days. I appreciate there was overcrowding that was taking place at Manston for the obvious reasons, frankly, and that meant that those people were taking longer there. But now legally to be allowed to be given 4 days, is that enough time?
No, it's not. It's not enough time. We need a much longer period, but 4 days is better than 24 hours.
Why do you need longer than 4 days? What is it that would have to be done in a longer period of time?
An in-depth interview, basically. You need a bigger interview. You need to be talking to these people, finding out where they've come from, why they've come, and everything else before you're moving them off. Because if they're economic refugees, which of course a lot of them are, then you should be able to get rid of them fairly quickly if what we hear from the government is going to happen.
Well, the other element to this is, under our current system, presumably, as you're saying, in your expert view, that the interviews are a bit wishy-washy, not necessarily particularly great health checks or any kind of rigour when it comes to this stuff. Presumably, what we are doing now is willingly allowing economic migrants to stay and be moved on to hotels. From once they get to a hotel, then they're still being processed once they're there, aren't they? They're not all accepted.
No, there's still going to be some processing when they're in the hotels, but the longer that they're in the UK, and once they're in the hotels, they're getting their stories together. They're speaking to their colleagues. They're hatching up the lies that they're going to tell us, and I'm sorry to say that, but that's exactly what's happening, and it's making it more and more and more difficult for Border Force. OK, look, Kevin, thank you very much. It's a rather bleak picture. Just very quickly, does it wind you up a little bit when the human rights lawyers get involved and say that it's against their human rights to keep them there any longer than 24 hours? Yeah, I'm afraid it does, because they don't know what they're talking about, half these people. The trouble is, Patrick, and I know you're busy, too many people who know nothing about immigration or what's going on are pretending to tell us everything, and it's just absolute nonsense.